And we're live. So welcome everybody to this remote interview. My name is Lisette and I'm interviewing people and companies doing great things remotely. And today on the line, a real digital nomad on the line today. Yasmine, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name.
Yes, that is Akermark.
Right. So if I were to say it with my horrible American accent, I would say Akermark, but that is totally not. But it's so Yasmine. And you are you're the co-founder of the Swedish Nomads group, also a Swedish name. I'll have you pronounce that. And also the founder of Share Hive, which is a marketplace where women collaborate. And we are totally going to get into that. But first, let's start with, what does your virtual office look like? And what do you need to get your work done?
So my virtual office, I guess it's very changing, right? So because I do tend to, even if I'm based in a city for a bit of time, I always change my location of work. But generally, I do need obviously my laptop and then a paper and a pen. I'm very much some people can write everything down on the laptop, whatever. I need like a paper and pen. Sometimes I don't see there we go.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even see what I write. It's just like, I just need that to make my list, to like scribble. I don't know what it makes no sense. It's nothing to save, like my, my book software. It's just to like throw away, but I just need to keep like writing. So that's the only things that I really need. But then I'm really picky in terms of like where I work. So it kind of has to be the right amount of light. So when I find these co-working spaces or cafes, which I tend to work the most from, I want to be able to see people. I don't want to be fronting a wall. So I am like my little feng shui co-working thing going. And the past few months I've been in New York, and I've been working from this thing called Spacious, which is something in between like a restaurant, cafe, and a co-working space, because they transform restaurants that are closed during the days to co-working spaces. And what's so good about it is that I can change location like every day, because they have like a bunch of them all over New York. And I think that describes my virtual office pretty good, that it's my laptop, my writing, my book, and my pen, and then a changing co-working space on a daily basis, pretty much.
So I'm curious, how did you become a digital nomad? What is the story behind? How did it happen?
I think like I obviously haven't been a digital nomad for my whole life, but like I was brought up with a lot of traveling. My parents, we lived in different places. So I think from like a very early age, I kind of had that what do you say, mindset, or like, moving around and seeing new places. And then I didn't actually know I was an actual digital nomad until 2015. So I'd been living as a digital nomad then for like 4 years, or even longer, really depends on how you see it. But I had no idea I was a digital nomad. And it wasn't until early 2015 when I was on Instagram and I was like, oh, what is this hashtag I keep seeing? It's like, these are these people in Bali, like working on their laptops, and it looks great. And I was like, oh, isn't that what I've been doing? Because I was thinking I was like super clever and like hacking life, and I was like in Buenos Aires working from my balcony and like and having like a business. And I was like, no, obviously other people do that. But I was thinking, I didn't think it was like such a massive thing. So I didn't realize I was until 2015. And before that, I'd just been running my own businesses since 2011, and freelanced as well. And it's just become, because I do travel a lot, it's become like a very natural thing of like, well, I might as well work when I'm in different places. So it wasn't like one day I was decided to become one. I think like my whole life has just been
Sort of discovered that you were one.
Yeah, exactly. And even when I was studying, I was like, oh no, I'm going to write my dissertation in a different place. Like, even when you're not supposed to, I'm going to do this exchange here for a year. I'm supposed to do, I was constantly like finding new ways of being in different locations.
So what are some of your tips for being on the road? Because certainly you've learned a lot by being in all these different locations.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. I can say that straight away. You have to like I mean you have to have your routines. That's really important, and be very disciplined, I think. I mean I struggle a lot with like um yeah, the discipline and the routines. And what's one really good tips is to surround you with other people in the similar um like position, because then you know, it's not just if you're working, particularly if you're by yourself, that can be like really hard and challenging to like motivate yourself, even harder than if you're running your own company or freelancing at home, I think. Because then obviously you have your setup and everything, but when you're traveling, you're constantly like as well, you know, there's so many things to do and to see, but like you need to be structured and disciplined and keep those routines. But those routines will change, you know, because in some places, you know, it'd be great to during the day do something and actually work later at night, because in you know, if you work towards Europe or US, you are in different times, so you have to like keep routines but adjust them according to the time zone kind of thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I think definitely a lot of people like they ask me a lot of questions. How do I start living as a digital nomad? And I think as well, it's not necessarily like black or white. Like a lot of people think that now I have to like throw myself out there and, you know, be away for months. And but it doesn't have to be. You know, you can be in your home country and go in a different city for a while, and you know you can test it out too, depending on where you're based. Let's say you're based in Europe, why don't you just go to like Budapest or for like 4 days, you know, and test it out and see how that's for you. And then you can be a nomad for a month of a year. It really doesn't have to be that, you know, what you see in media of these people sitting with a coconut and a laptop on the beach. I mean, it doesn't work to work on a beach with the laptop. Let's face it.
It's true.
Just
It's true. I always see
photos.
the
So it's
pictures
like,
and I think, come on, there must be sand everywhere. Come on.
yeah, no, you can't see it. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Yeah.
So working from the beach does not work as glamorous as
No,
it looks. Yeah.
it's just for the photos, just for the Insta.
So when did you start the Swedish Nomads group?
So the Swedish Nomad was started early 2017. And the story there is kind of funny because I was, my nomad base was London at the time. And I had got to know this girl. We were both writing for a Swedish travel magazine. And that's how we knew each other, because we both been writing, we both were based in London. So we've been hanging out a little bit, and then this guy reached out to her and he was like, hey, when I Google digital nomad in Sweden, your name comes up because she's been writing articles about it. And he was like, I've been a nomad. There's not much information about it in Sweden, so we should totally do something. And she kind of, because she knows that I was a nomad, I was heading to Bali at that time, so she was like, hey, this guy called Christopher contacted me, you know, this could be interesting. And so I was like, yeah, sounds good. And then I headed off to Bali, and one of my businesses kind of crashed. So I was like, oh God, I really don't have time. I need to focus on this. This is devastating. I don't have time for something else. And then they were like, yeah, but we know we should look into it. This is for fun, you know, because people always ask us about it and we share it. We can start this as like a small blog. So we did in early 2017. And yes, it started as a very small thing. And we hadn't met Christopher at this time, me and Emily, which is kind of funny. So we just started something with him, and we were like, let's see how it goes. And we didn't meet him until a few months later. We're like, is he gonna catfish us or something?
Yeah. You never,
yeah.
the good thing about humans is that most of them are really lovely people. Like for the most part, humans are really lovely people. Yeah.
Yeah. And specifically if you treat people in that way too, people will be lovely if you believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then how did Share Hive come about?
So Share Hive is, I'd say like it's kind of like a some summary or of all my experiences having been a female like freelancer and entrepreneur 2011. So basically I when I started my first business back in the day, it was something completely different. I thought that was going to be very, very easy. It wasn't it wasn't as easy as I had imagined, and I quite quickly realized that I had to start doing freelancing on the side in order to get that business going, because I was one of those crazy people who quit my job, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I just went for it for my business, and then I was like, ooh, this is a lot harder than I thought. So I then started freelancing on the side, and where I was like finding work and getting more business was through my like female entrepreneur freelance networks. So I was reaching out to them, and I was helping them, and I was getting help back, and I was spreading my business, and it was, you know, a really nice little like ecosystem. And yeah, and then I just a few years ago, it was like there should totally be like a marketplace for female entrepreneurs and freelancers, where, you know, we can help each other out, and you know, yeah, because that's what we already do, but there's no really like structured way of doing like barter and like actual freelance work. Plus there's like a lot of other things I learned as a freelancer, you know, these platforms like Upwork or whatever, they're not really allowing you to be transparent, showcasing what you're doing. It's very much like you're a freelancer with a skill. It's not like about you as a person.
Right.
And also a lot of like, including myself, a lot of female entrepreneurs or freelancers, they're actually a combination of both. A lot of people has a business and through that business freelance or freelance on the side, which is like a really important thing as well, because a lot of these other platforms, they don't really allow you to be both. They kind of, you have to be one or the other, which is not really suitable for a lot of female entrepreneurs and freelancers.
And why the focus on female entrepreneurs?
I think in the beginning, it was obviously like is based on my experience and just this having this strong like support of women in business around me, but also one of the aspects of Share Hive is the barter aspect. And with barter, you know, the more niched it is, the more like security, the more trust you have in. So you kind of have to like make it quite niched for it to work. So those different reasons, but mainly because of my experience and the support, and also the fact that a lot of the people who join Share Hive do appreciate working with female freelancers because their business is targeted for female in general, which makes sense that you do then work with someone who is of that gender because they understand the business, because that's the target.
What do you think female entrepreneurs, how is it different from male entrepreneurs? Is there, I don't know if there's a main difference or...
I think everyone, I think it's hard because I think everyone is, you know, you can have a male. I don't really know that there's a typical in terms of like a gender, to be fair.
Right.
But
it's a huge stereotype. I mean,
yeah. But
too
I think
big.
like I mean, even for Share Hive, I mean, in the future you'll be able to go online, obviously as a male entrepreneur having a business target females, go online and find female freelancers or entrepreneurs helping you with that. So in that way, there will be it's just a community that in like on the platform that is female only, but it will also be open because obviously there's much more you can do and work around it. So
sure. And there's all kinds of male networks and all. I mean, you know, there's definitely, it's funny. In one of the interviews I did, somebody said men and women are equal, but different. So there is a difference, and that's why it's important that both needs get addressed, because there's an equality, but there's very much differences in the way we work and the way we approach problems and all kinds of things, and both are needed and equally as important.
Exactly. And I think it's like one last thing, that's just that I think it's not necessarily about the gender as well. It's also about the fact that you are like that defined like a group. It makes it easier to like do business and like a community. And then that community could be everyone in the age of 25 in a small city. Or
Right.
so it's marketing to just finding your niche and really like be focused on that.
Right. That's the focus is always the thing. So what is something that you struggle with as a digital nomad or a female entrepreneur? What is it? What are sort of your main challenges that you are addressing?
I think it's super hard. I was like, it's so hard. No, but it's really hard with.
I agree. You said
you
said I quit my job and just leapt into it. I did the same, and it was so much harder. I would never recommend people do it unless you have a huge pile of money, a savings account or something. Like even then, It's so hard. So yeah,
it's very hard. I think it's a very hard like. The motivation and also like because I think it's very hard to motivate, particularly if you work by yourself as well. It's just can be so challenging, and just waking up and being like, hey, I need to do 12 hours of this today, and like there are so many ups and downs in entrepreneurship and freelance, and you need to like one day you're like on the top and the next day you're just in the bottom, and you need to just ride those ups and downs, and also the fact that like like everyone, you have days when you're not that effective, and then you have days when you're like on a roll. But the difference is when you have a job is that you get paid all the time, right? You're paid for those hours that are human to not be effective. But if you are not effective when you do your own thing, you just miss out. And I hate being ineffective, so I can like really beat myself up for being like I'm not as effective. But I also know that I can't be effective all the time, and it doesn't work for me. I have like 3 really good hours, and then I might actually need to do something else. But it's hard. I just want to be effective all the time because I know that I want to move ahead. That is really hard.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I have to say, riding the ups and downs, man, it's really a roller coaster ride that I think people don't understand how prepared you need to be for it, and the constant hustling. Like I'm constantly hustling for new work and new stuff, and that's also very tiring.
And just like believing, because you do lose like like if your confidence is low. It's not good, and that's also natural. Like you have times in your life that can be stretches of months when you're just not on the top, and that's absolutely normal. But that makes things harder. I mean,
if you're running your own show and you're having a hard few months, then it can be really devastating. Whereas if you're just working for somebody else and getting paid no matter what, and you have a hard few months, well then, you can ride it out pretty much. I mean, everybody, each set of rules has its own, or each set of structures has its own ups and downs, I'm sure. Could you ever go back to an office, or did you ever have like an office job, day job kind of?
I did very shortly. Briefly. After university, I landed on paper a really, really good job. But just, I was very excited, and it was terrible. I think that was like a bad. I don't think anything would have changed even if I had the best job. Like maybe I've stayed a bit longer, but it just made me quit very quickly and just go ahead and do my own thing.
Right.
But I think I've been considering it potentially could be nice to have a normal job, because you have people you work around, a community, and which is really nice. But then I probably would just do full-time freelancing with bigger clients, and just find a co-working space that I work from every day. So that would be my compromise, kind of.
And why do you like this life? What is it about this lifestyle that you love so much?
I think it's the freedom and the flexibility of just being able to just to moving around, or like, it's not like I move around all the time either. Like I said, it's not like I'm constantly traveling, but that like freedom of like being able to be in different locations. I mean, just like booking like tickets, like airline tickets, you can go on like a Tuesday. It's so much cheaper. No, but so that is my motivation. No. No, it's about the freedom. And I also like, in terms of like, I really like working for myself. It is very motivating. Like I said, that it's hard to motivate yourself to do things, but it's also very motivating to be working for yourself, because once you're on your ups, you're really high up there, because it's very exciting when things are going well. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite travel destination?
I have so many. I keep like loving every place I'm at. Like, I'm in Austin now, and I love it. I'm like, maybe I could be here for some time. I mean, I think like it's like, I mean, Bali is really nice. I think it might be almost too much now, but it's really nice. Like, I have a thing for Kuala Lumpur. Like, I don't know, I love big cities. I love the different culture that meets there. I just love that city. So that's one of my like absolute favorite places. I also do spend a lot of like, tend to keep coming back to the Balkan area. So I spend a lot of time in like Bosnia, like, and Macedonia. Really like those areas too. I love the US. It's just so expensive.
Oh,
I was like
interesting.
New York. Yeah.
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh dear, went out for dinner, spent $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the price of being in the big city usually is,
Yeah,
I
it
lived in San
is.
Francisco for a long time and it was very expensive. I live in a small town in the Netherlands now and my rent is like a tenth what it used to be, really, like a tenth. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So what about favorite tools and apps, things that you use all the time?
I mean, so what I use, like, I love Evernote. I use Evernote. Like I said, I like to scribble on my laptop as well. Then I actually write things. When I scribble with my hand, it's more like, but like, using Evernote is great, because before I started using it, I've just had like tons of like Word documents scattered around in weird folders, and like, so that's one of my favorite. I like Pomodoro, the tomato, where you work 25 minutes, have a break, work 25 minutes, and you're not allowed to like watch anything, like do anything, which is really good, because then I really do need that little break, and I need that focus. So those two are like, I think are great. And I recently discovered this app which is called and it's like digital business cards, but it's really clever, because so I run out of business cards and I kind of think it's a bit so I downloaded this app, and what it does is that you, at an event, you'll take someone's email, they write the email in the app, and then you will both get connected by email, and you will both get your LinkedIn sent to each other, and then you save them into the app too. So it's like, rather than like, it's saving that whole step of like, well, I will take your card and I will sit down at home and I will email you, and then that person will email me back. It's like, it just does it automatically, and then you can straight away connect on LinkedIn or whatever. Just super clever. That one.
Oh, sorry. I'm curious about your social media, which is, do you get a lot of connection on social media? Do you find a lot of work that way?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of like digital networking. I think social media is amazing for that. Like, Facebook groups is fantastic. I use that. Instagram is fantastic too. Like, and like, just like Facebook Messenger, like, I think people just test out sending someone an email and Facebook message someone. I know they like, you have to like unlock it on Facebook Messenger, and the same on Instagram, but people are so much more likely to like reply to you. And it's so easy. Like, I mean, depends on the nature of your business, but like, I mean, LinkedIn is a little bit harder, I think, because you get so much spam there, unfortunately. But like, yeah, networking on like Facebook and Instagram really is great, I think.
And when you travel, do you connect with other digital nomads? Do you make it a point of like meeting up with other nomads, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that part of being a digital nomad, is that you meet awesome people from all around the world. And they are all like, obviously just traveling and like doing their thing. So they have a certain mindset, which is very open. So it's extremely easy to like create a community of people. I mean, I said like when I had like my leaving party in Bali, which I spent 6 weeks there, I had like 40 people showing up. Had my leaving party in London, where I spent like 8 years, I had like 15 people showing up. That's also the mindset of big cities. People can't be bothered, it's too far away. And in Bali, it's like, oh, awesome, my Yasmine's doing this barbecue tonight.
Right.
So it's like I think that's like one of the things I love the most about it, that you reach some really inspiring people too. And you get a lot of connections. So just imagine like meeting someone who has been like maybe not traveling all the time, but been living in different places and met different people from all around the globe. Just imagine their network compared to like when you meet people. I mean, that's not always true, but someone who's been in the same city and worked the same job. Of course, if you are constantly meeting new people that have a global network, it's just
Right.
so.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. You're right. Because if you're like at a normal job, what's normal anymore? But okay, if you have a day
Yeah,
job, for instance, you're right. You're running kind of with the same circles unless you're actively
yeah, which is
networking and bringing
hard to,
people in.
which is kind of, which I mean, it's hard. Like some friends from back home, they're like, what do I do? And it's like, I get it. Like, it's not that much happening in Uppsala, and like, it's hard. But like when you are like a digital nomad, if you work in these co-working spaces, there's like everyday things happening, and you will just hear about things, and people are very inviting and open, and yeah, suddenly you just have a wide global network, which is amazing.
Right. Right. Expanding your reach out to like way more than the local community. Indeed. So what makes a bad digital nomad?
I mean, you do meet these people who are just not actually nomad, but they say they are, but they are just traveling, which is fine, I guess.
So they're
It's
just
okay.
travelers. They're not working while traveling.
They kind of are, but not really. Like they're like, yeah, I'm working in this blog. I mean, that's not. I mean, there's some, hugely successful people that do, but I also meet people who just, and I think it's fine, but they might just use it like as a thing because it's easier to say that I'm gonna go working on this rather than saying traveling, which is fine. And not that they're just not nomads. But like, yeah, what else? How are you bad to the nomad? I mean, I think as well, you need to be aware as well of like how it's fantastic to be a nomad, but it's also you're very privileged. A lot of people are not able to do, um, to be a digital nomad. You need to as well like understand that the digital nomad culture can actually cause some damage to communities as well. A lot of the time it can be really good because these regions are growing, but also the local population might be priced out. So you think you need to like be aware of that. So a bad digital nomad would be someone who's very ignorant to that. So, and there is a ton of ways as a nomad to actually give back to communities that you come to, which I think is really important.
How do nomads wreck the community? I won't say wreck, or maybe have a negative effect on the community. What does that look like?
I mean, I think there's always two sides to it, but like you could say, for example, like certain areas of Bali, like that's been like old like fishing villages or whatever, and then now there's just these tons of like really nice restaurants, which is I guess great in these houses, but everyone now is renting them out on Airbnb and or whatever. I mean, the prices are pretty much comparable to like US, like the prices of, they're still cheaper, but like the prices are a lot higher, which means that these locals who live there forever, they are now like priced out. They can't afford living there anymore. Then the other side is that is like benefiting their economy. But I mean, yeah, and as well taking Bali and again as an example, I mean, it's also like a huge problem with like, I mean, that's everyone on the island, but just plastic like bins everywhere, like just sad people, the countries or the place not keeping up with the amount of people. But that's like tourism too, so it's kind of hard. But I think mainly is that kind of pricing out people from their places. But
yeah, no, I'm just curious, like, what is the negative effect?
yeah,
because it sure sounds glamorous otherwise.
yeah,
It sure sounds
exactly.
glamorous otherwise. So do you have any tips for people who are just starting out, who are thinking about it? What would you advise them to do?
I mean, like I said, I think test it before
Yeah, you
anything
said
else.
start slow.
Yeah, start slow. And I think as well, one thing you can do is if you have a normal job, like start building your freelance or company on the side. You take baby steps and do that on the side until you feel like you have something, and then make sure you save some money up. But like, just if you're going out there, just have like a freelance gig. I mean, like I was speaking to this girl the other day who has a job which is completely like not remote working, like it's like in a lab, in a pharma, like so like she was like, how do I do this? I was like, but it was like, maybe there's ways that you can work, because that's an industry that's specific, and I'm sure there like other like pharma startups that could potentially use you as a freelancer, maybe not as for a lab, but maybe there's new digital skills that you can learn, like is there like something like digital marketing or whatever. Because I think that's another really important thing, is that you need to kind of learn that skill that is that you can work remotely with, because all skills are not, even though we're moving towards everything being able to do remotely. But then like learn that skill, or if you're at that company, obviously you need to set that up. But for freelance, and there's like tons of like, obviously these like this Udemy, Skill Crush, Skill Share, but I mean, to be fair as well, like YouTube works really well, because people do great videos because they make money out of YouTube. So you can find a lot of things on YouTube. But also like one thing what's nice about Share Hive is also like great for people, like when people start out, it's like starting out, because the barter allows you to collaborate and like actually gain something that you need. If you're a freelancer and you want like a website with a logo, whatever, you can get that in exchange of like, I made you a video or whatever that could be. And in that way you're actually like, hey, I'm getting experience and at the same time getting something back. So just like collaborate with people and reach out, don't be shy, and join all these like, there's tons of like Facebook groups, Slack channels, and just join just conferences, go for one and like start like dipping your toes into it, like yeah.
Love it. Yeah, dip your toes in. That's a good way to put it. Like just dip your toes in, go to meetups, go to conferences, check out.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of gaining your experience through just small projects with others. Just do something small, make a video or and just learn the skills that way. Indeed. Dip your toes in. Writing it down. Yeah. So then last question, which is, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about the Swedish Nomads or Share Hive, what is the best place to find you? Or best places? Because you've mentioned Facebook and Instagram already.
Yeah, I'm a little bit all over the space. I mean, I guess LinkedIn or email is probably one of the better ones. See, I was just saying email, but I like emails for like, it's a general. So then that would be yasmine.akermark@gmail.com. or Yasmine Akermark on LinkedIn, something like that.
And I'll link to it in the show notes for people, so it'll make it
Yeah.
easy for them. Great. Well, thank you for sharing your story today. I hope that I don't have a lot of digital nomads on the show, but so I hope that this is something new for the audience to inspire them to get out of their box a little bit and travel the world and see what it's like.
Great.
So thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Until next time, be powerful.